Now I want to introduce our first reader, who I'm pretty sure you'll be blown away as I was the first time I heard him read. His stories are full of a strange life of its own, like Chicago is, and his name is Alex Bonner. He's a Chicagoan. His writing can be seen on the walls all over town, but also in some of its stranger printing houses, including just recently The Deadline and Back to Print. Alex was a 2009 Windy City Story Slam champion and the 2010 National Story Slam People's Choice Award. Alex can be seen reading his work aloud for several Chicago-based reading series, such as Second Story and The Moth. Alex also spent a massive amount of loan money at Columbia College, Chicago, where he learned the basic format of how to write screenplays. Ever since, he has been the head writer and co-founder of Bailout Pictures Chicago. Whether the weather matters is a question in Chicago that may never be asked aloud, but is thought about by every Chicagoan at nearly every moment they live here. Does the cold turn you cold, the heat boil the blood, or the wind erode things from the inside out? Please welcome Alex Bonner.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is called The Desensitization of the Cold. About a year ago, my grandmother went out of town for a bit and left me in charge of her tchotchkes and her car. I'm typically against cars, ever since the city stole my last two, but the occasions where a car actually appears before me are about as usual as a unicorn, so I decided that if I was going to be driving the thing, I couldn't just keep going to the White Castle drive-thru over and over. I had to do something exceptional with the time. This was also an issue because of my personal problem that right around January, I am at my fattest, slowest, most desensitized point of the year. In January, the air is dry and the sun is mocking you through the cold. In January, the whole world goes boring on me. The light comes late, leaves early, and when you go to bed, it seems like the hour that you woke up. The television becomes annoying birds squawking, porn becomes slippery wrestling moves over and over, and horror movies become bad actors in red corn syrup screaming about the same cliches. But hey man, the Midwest sky is always the same satin shade of white, and this is Chicago, so quit your whining. So what? So what if this is soaking drowsy boredom with starting to follow me deeper into other seasons the longer I lived here? Who gives a shit? And hey, I got a car for the moment. Still though, what was I going to do with the thing? I spent the first week of the car babysitting driving up and down Lakeshore Drive as fast as I could in the middle of the night, waiting for it to snow, and then sometimes parking where I wasn't supposed to, and watching the sunrise come up while I smoked cigarette after cigarette. This is basically the typical ideas that I would come up with for car usage. I also started creeping around the nice suburban libraries that are normally a little far out of reach. The erotica section in libraries is pretty slim, but I tell you, the nonfiction supernatural section is always a full shelf long. And if you can't get my adrenaline kicks from sex, well then I have to go back to the fallback, which is fear. I closed my eyes in front of the quiet row of books, breathed in the smell of decaying paper and cheap carpet cleaner, and opened them. The spine of the first book I saw had a name I'd known since the primordial age of my memory. The name of it is this little pulsed whisper to the children of Chicagoland. It's a place, a beacon, a cemetery, a spook show, a place the Indians stayed the hell away from, a place where ghosts apparently let you take their picture, and the city of murderers of every era come to dump their wares there. It's called Bachelor's Grove. It's at 143rd and Ridgeland. Too far to walk in the freeze, but only 45 minutes or less in a Subaru. And it's always something everyone I've known here at least heard the echoes of. Somewhere that everyone has lied to and said that, hey, we've gone there and witnessed wild and eerie things, but none of us had ever had the balls to actually step foot in. I'd had enough of that happy horse shit. I'd had a car, I had gas in it, and when I punched Bachelor's Grove into Google on my phone, it knew where it was and when the best time to go. Google said the middle of the day. Less chance of being harassed, less chance of falling and smacking your head on a rock and just becoming one more urban legend yourself. But that was not scary enough. Google doesn't know what's scary. My callous brain wasn't going to have enough in a quiet afternoon stroll in the forest. No. I was going to feel the panic in the apex point of my nervous system. So I went to buy a flashlight and bought a gas lantern instead. I went home, bathed, slicked my hair, and decided that I would, I don't know, for the hell of it, paint a pentacle on my naked chest as steam poured off of me in the bathroom mirror. I hoped, as I drove the Subaru, dressed all in black, all the way down Harlem, hoping maybe to see the white lady along the side of the road and give her a ride, since I was hoping we were going to the same place. A light snow trickled enough to make me turn my windshield wipers on, and eventually the headlights began to find less buildings in their beam and more trees in their tunnel vision. The entrance to Bachelor's Grove Woods is a lot like any forest preserve here. It's just a gravel driveway into the woods off of a well-lit suburban road. Normally there's chain blocking the way, but there wasn't one. Just gravel that leads into a little landing you could call a parking lot, and then a footpath, deeper and darker into the woods. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror and realized how insane I was, but also how much electricity was currently wailing through my fingers. I wanted to say something to my reflection, but my tongue wouldn't lift itself from the bottom of my mouth, so I fired up the lantern and got to walking. I took approximately 3 steps, crunching out into the gravel before I heard, "Excuse me, who the fuck are you and what are you doing here?" The voice was tinted with the same accent they all have. And sure enough, I turned and he clicked on his maglite. I couldn't see his face, just a gun belt and steam rising in the beam of the flashlight. "Park closes at 10 p.m. You're not supposed to be here." "I was looking for someone," was the smartest thing I could come up with. "Park closes at 10 p.m. You're not supposed to be here." The light was killing me. Are you a cop? I can't see you with the flashlight in my place. "Park closes at 10 p.m. And then he clicked it off, and he came and put his hand on my shoulder. He was a state trooper with dark features, no sideburns. I figured that it was a bust, and that I was just about to get back in the car and cut my losses. But it dawned on me at that moment. "Wait a minute," I asked. "What the hell are you doing here?" And this was odd, because he didn't just turn at me like some cop. He stopped, like I'd caught him in something. And then soulfully he thought about it for a second. He turned back to look at the path before answering. "Kid, I want you to leave right now. You have no idea what you're doing here. You don't belong here." "Oh yeah, and you belong here? Belong here? What the shit does that mean? Why am I talking to a state trooper? Where's your car? What the hell? You're a hell of a long way from the highway. And you know what? Why are you just sitting out here?" He flashed a flashlight in my face again and said, "You're one of those fucking weird kids, aren't you?" "No." "All right, look, stop. Fine. Just be quiet. Just be quiet and listen." It struck me, so I stopped. I made eye contact with him, and then we looked into the sky. And the world went completely silent, just as the wind rolled in to turn the world into tiny gusts, cackling naked little branches in the trees together. And I heard distant highway murmurs and the smell of gasoline and pine. The snow was picking up and coming down in big wet flakes, reflecting in little flourishes from the pinked up sky. I listened though. Listened deep enough to hear the flakes make tiny kiss noises as they reached the ground. Finally I whispered, "What are we listening for?" "See," he said, not looking at me, just looking back at the path. "You can't hear them, can you?" I came to about 20 minutes later, driving the car up the highway, not really remembering leaving. By the time I was home smoking a cigarette and watching History Channel, it was like the entire thing was just a strange dream I was still draining out from. Then the winter melted like it does in the windy, rainy, strange April days, and finally the sweat-smeared clothes of summer started hanging on my frame. I was drinking a margarita on my day off, sighing as cool breeze came into the room, and it set my endorphin trigger off. The Cubs game was ending, and a little trailer for the afternoon news was coming on about a state trooper killed in a high-speed chase. And sure enough, It was the dark features and no sideburns himself, and his official portrait flashing up on the screen. A siren blared outside my window, and some neighborhood kids were screaming in the air while the smell of charcoal was coasting into me. I put on my sunglasses and went to the pool. That's that one.